that the eyes of our understanding be enlightened tonight. Open our minds, oh God. Grant us revelation in this subject, that at the end of this service, we will gain wisdom and understanding to run. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Let's just put those hands together and have our seat.
Is a confectionery.
Okay.
Praise the Lord. Please, can we come together? Every day we cannot be doing like this now. The people here come together. There's a reason why we ask you to come together, so that we take attendance. We know what we are doing, and what we are doing know us too. How many of us are tired of these teachings? Like, you are tired. Can they just stop this thing? You are not tired. How many of you have been here from the first instance, from the first Wednesday till now? Put your hands together for yourself. It's not easy. How many of us want to apply for a grant? All of you. How many of you have been here? Not all of you. How many of us have learned what we are doing? Not all of us. So the same way, not all of us will get the grant, but all of us can apply. You are welcomed. Right? But the most important thing, as I always say, is for us to apply what we are being taught here. If you have been following, every Wednesday we try to bring one person that will come and share at least one thing they learned in the course of, this training and assessing the grant. Today, or this week, we're supposed to be talking about big business, but we're not talking about big business today, because how many of us were in church on Sunday? If you remember, on Sunday we started talking about kingdom, tithing, and all those things. So in order for us to tie everything together, we decided to bring the kingdom business back this week. Next week we talk about the big business. And a lot of us may not be playing in the big business yet, but we're anticipating that we get there. Even myself, I'm not doing big business yet, but I'm going to do big business. Because big business is about your mindset. Tomorrow we'll look at those things. But before we start today, you were here Thursday last week. We watched a video where we had a case study where we discussed. Please, can you help us with some mics? Because we are going to have yet another video, and we're going to discuss a little bit before we take the teaching, so that we will have better understanding of what we talked about last week and what we are expecting that we'll do when it is time. Part of the reason why we are sharing this video is for those of us that would like to apply for the grant. Everyone that has testified has told us that they were asked to pitch their business, but they don't have this kind of privilege that you have now, because we are sharing some of these ways so that you can have better understanding on how you can present your business. And beyond presenting to the business unit, you can be presenting to a bigger, you can even get to the lions and present to them, right? So, without taking much of our time, I would like ICT, if you are ready, we can have the video roll now so that we can get going with this. Thank you.
My name is Ayodeji, and I'm the founder and CEO of 501 Confectioners. 501 Confectioners is a confectionery business that makes
How many of you wanted to stay here till 10 p.m.? Okay, I hope you will let this resource person go. I hope you will, because I'm sure you'll have a nice time as well. So we're still on kingdom principles. We're still on trying to do business the kingdom way and for the kingdom, okay? So today we have another person in the house that you know very well, one of our pastors in one of our locations. He used to be here. How many of you know Pastor Mecca? So please, put your hands together for him as he comes, please. Thank you, Pastor Mecca. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Well, I've been introduced. My name is Emeka Carlo. I'm the director for church planting. I'm coordinating the satellite churches and also pastoring our church in GRA. I also do business now. Clap for me small. Amen. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, members of the Business Development Unit. I very quickly will be looking at dominion over times and seasons. Now, we'll be exploring Pharaoh's dream and its business implication. You remember Genesis 41? I just want to leave the preamble so that I just go straight to. You remember Pharaoh's dream? In Genesis 41, Pharaoh had a dream, 7 lean cows and 7 fat cows. Are we still together? This is a business meeting. I'm not preaching. So even though it's kingdom principle, but let's give it a business approach. And then Pharaoh had issues even remembering the dream, much more the interpretation. Are we still together? It's in Genesis 41. Everything I'll be pulling out is from Genesis 41. And then the cupbearer, so the chief butler now remembers that 2 years ago he met a young man in prison. His name was Joseph. And then he told the king that this guy interpreted their dreams and it came out the same way it was talked about. And then suddenly the king sent for him. Of course, there was no how Joseph went back to prison, because those who add value in life can never be in prison. Number 2, those who add value to life can never lack money. And number 3, those who add value in life can never remain demoted. They will be promoted. So I just tried to explain Genesis 41 from verse 1 to 57. So I'm talking about what? Dominion over times and seasons. And then, so the first thing we want to look at is that time consciousness is the greatest difference between the poor, the pauper, and the prosperous. Time consciousness. That's the difference between what? The poor, the pauper, and the prosperous. Now, we're going to look at some Christian businessmen who carried out their businesses using kingdom principle. So, now I wanted to look at Sam Walton's investment principle. What's Sam Walton? That's the owner of Walmart. Are we still together? Sam Walton, we're going to take his profile very quickly. No, don't just leave them there. Just hold on. Now, one of the investment principles of Sam Walton was that he will see a company that is lowly priced today, an organization or a business that is lowly priced today. Let's say that business can just be valued at 10 million. And then he looks into 10 years from now what the worth of that business will be. And then he will buy that business. So we're going somewhere. We're going to look at some of these guys, and then I'll just tell you some of the principles, and I'm out of here. I'm not going to spend a long time. Now, the first person we want to look at is Joseph as a kingdom businessman. Don't forget, kingdom principles simply how you do your business. It benefits the kingdom. It blesses humanity and also blesses you. Hello? Now, the principles that this man applied, that it blessed humanity, it blessed the kingdom, or it represented God and also blessed them. So a few things. The first person is Joseph. Genesis 39. I'm not going to be reading order because I want to touch somewhere. In Genesis 39, 1 to 10. Joseph was in Potiphar's house, right? Hello. Joseph was in Potiphar's house, and then his master has committed to him the business of the house. That was business. He was in charge of the house. But he was not in charge of Potiphar's wife. Are we still together? Please check the principle I'm bringing in here. Now, one day, the woman said, "Can you sleep with me?" And Joseph said, "This is against the principle of the kingdom I'm talking about here." He said, "The master, your husband has committed everything into my hands, but he did not commit you into my hands." That is the principle of purity in business or integrity. Are we still together? Joseph could have said, "Well, if I fall in love with this woman, I think I can have everything I need to have in this house because madam are my own." But he was looking at 10 years from now or in eternity, what will happen? Because every compromise today takes away something from you tomorrow. So Joseph said in verse 9, "How shall I do this wickedness and sin against my God?" In other words, the kingdom I come from, this is what? There is zero tolerance for what? For impurity. And of course, you know how, even though he was thrown into prison, but that was part of the process that brought him to where he was. Now let's look at the next person. Second person is Sam Walton, as a kingdom businessman. I will read it from here because the stories are not there. He and Helen were active in First Presbyterian Church in Bentonville. Sam served as an elder and a Sunday school teacher, teaching high school age students. The family made substantial contribution to the congregation. Walton also quietly lived his Christian faith, giving scholarship for foreigners to attend Christian universities, and settling up a yearly endowment. Watch this. A yearly endowment to help spread the gospel through the Presbyterian Church shortly before his death. Sam Walton School of Business at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville is named in his honor. This guy was a businessman. He owns Walmart. You remember Walmart? You want me to be giving you stories of Rukboko and Rumola? Oh, not. So, he was a businessman, but that did not stop him from serving in the house of God. Don't tell me your business, you are so busy that you can't serve in the house of God. This guy was an elder in the First Presbyterian Church. He was also a Sunday school teacher. As a businessman, he said, "I understand kingdom principle in business. This business must bless humanity, must bless me, but must also give glory to God." So he started taking care of young persons so that they can attend Christian universities. What would have happened if those guys were not sponsored to go to school? They can join one evil thing and their destinies will be eroded. But this guy said, "I'm a kingdom businessman. I will put in my money to raise a generation because in eternity I'll be rewarded." Sam Walton. The second person is John Templeton. He owned the Templeton Foundation. During the Cold War era, Christianity faced extended threat, but American billionaire Sir John Templeton remained loyal to Christianity. Not only that, the Templeton Foundation, he found it played an important role in defending Christianity. Sir John Templeton was an extremely devout, lifelong Presbyterian Christian. He was an elder in the Presbyterian Church and for many decades was a member of the American Bible Society. Until his death, he invested huge amount of money into his foundation to counter left-wing communist propaganda in order to defend Christianity. Look at this guy. Now, if you go to Abuja, you see Bible Society, they have a hotel. And the price, the rate for one room is not the same way you can get anywhere. You know why? Some persons are making sure that people can stay there without paying that high amount of money. I think it's in zone 5. Yes. Who says zone 2? Why? People like this were investing in the Bible Society. He was also an elder in the Presbyterian church. You know, my village people were Presbyterians. That's our church. I'm from Ohofia. We are Presbyterian people. Now in our church with that. We only came to town and became gateway members. my sister is here. Sister Nkechi is my sister. Not be Presbyterian, how they go. Now be our church now. Praise the Lord. But this guy, during the Cold War, defended the Christian faith. Was a businessman. Well, you might be asking, why am I telling all these stories? We have in this church, we do media. We are on radio. You can decide that from my business, I can pay quarterly for our radio. Papa preaches on radio in 3 different stations, right? 3. That can be what your business can do. I can even pay only for 1 month. You understand what? Kingdom principle. You are giving back to the kingdom. This guy did that. Let's take another person before I just touch a few things. Jekoki. He was the first investment banker. According to many historians, Jekoki is considered as America's first investment banker and was one of the richest men in the 19th century. In his personal life, he was a man of strong Christian faith and a lifelong devout Episcopalian. That's what they call them, Christian. He donated a huge amount of money to the Christian faith, to charities and financial construction of many churches. In an era when evil guys like Karl Marx, who were talking about destroying Christianity and destroying churches, Jekoki remained loyal to Christianity, used his money to help finance the construction of many churches and help spread and defended the gospel. Karl Marx want to destroy churches, but this guy say, the money is here, I will build many churches. We are doing church planting. You can decide that if church planting, one church costs 5 million, 6 million, I can give 1 million, but you have given to the kingdom. That's kingdom business. You are anyone who gives to the Lord, he said the Lord will repay him in 100-fold. Let me take one more and then we'll just run. This time is a Nigerian, Olatayo Ajiboye, the founder of Billionaire Christian Movement and Talent City International Limited. He said he had been inspired by God to start training youth on the sound principle of prospering through establishing and running genuine business. Olatayo is a serial entrepreneur and chairman of Talent City International Limited. He's also the founder Billionaire Christian Movement. His passion is to raise as many billionaires as possible. He told church times that the desire to raise billionaire Christians began when he had an unusual encounter with God. It was during that encounter that God told him to raise billionaire Christians who will grow through their commitment to and dedication to building business by following biblical financial principle. This guy was invited to church. He was frustrated. He was a frustrated young man in 2010. And then that 2010, somebody invited him to one day with Daddy Gio. That was a Redeemed church. And then he attended that program. He was still very frustrated because he was very poor. But he said after the program, he sat down on his chair and slept off and got a revelation. It was that revelation he started working on. He wrote a book. The title of the book is 15 Years of a Billionaire and the Gateway of Becoming a Billionaire Christian. You can read the book. 15 Years a Billionaire and the Gateway to Becoming a Billionaire. Now, why am I talking about times and seasons? Benjamin Franklin said, does that love life? Then do not squander time, for that's the stuff life is made up of. Remember that, I know we're going to analyze the video later, but you watch out that when that guy said, I'm going to give you such an amount, and the guy said, no, in 3 years' time, this money, the value will not be the same. Are we say together? Now, there's difference between investing in a business that just came out now and the one that came out maybe that have lasted for 1 year in the market. But that's not where I'm going to. I just want to teach us some principles. So I'll be running, leave all the preamble, just take me to 3 determinants of income, irrespective of the season. I said in every man's life and business, there is a season of abundance and plenty and surplus, correct? There are times in life, so opportunities. You have access. You have access to so many things. I remember a young lady whose uncle was minister for finance so many years ago. Each time she meets the uncle, all she will ask for, give me money, let me go to Italy and flex. 4 years later, the man was no longer the minister for finance. And she did not establish anything. Times has changed. The second thing is that in every industry and business, there is a season of what? Scarcity, shortage, hunger, exhaustion, destitution, and starvation. But whatever happened, point 3 says, point 3, no matter the changing seasons of life and business, you need what? Wisdom to be proactive and to remain relevant. And the wisdom we are talking about comes from God. And those are the principles. Next slide. Get me wrong. Now, there are 3 determinants of your income, irrespective of what you do in life. It is not your employer that determines your income. You are the one. Are we here? 3 things that will determine your income in life, in business, in ministry, whatever you're doing. The first one is the need and demand for what you do. If there is need and demand for what you do in life, there is no how you can be at the same income level with someone whose products or services are not needed in the marketplace. How many of you like the tariff? They are changing the tariff in maybe airtime, PHED. As it stands now, we just put in 5,000. Before you know it, thing is showing red. But how many of you have stopped buying because the tariff is high? You still buy your airtime, right? Why? Those products are needed in the market, and there is no how MTN can go down. If there is need and demand for what you do, your income will keep rising. Am I communicating? Since I'm a pastor, let me pray for you that from now henceforth, may you bring out products and services that are needed in the marketplace. So, the second thing that determines your income is the skill and ability for how you do your business. The skill and ability for how you do that business. If you don't have skill for the business you are doing, I guarantee you, nobody wants to pay for mediocrity. These are kingdom principles. If you look at that Genesis 41, 37 to 36 or 46, notice that even the first point I read was what? Need and demand for what to do. When Joseph came to the palace, he said that the king should look for somebody who can do this, right? But the king said that we can't get anybody better than you. So there was need for the services that Joseph was rendering. Are we still together? Then the second one was what? The skill and the ability for how you do your business. Proverbs 22 verse 29, if there is Message translation. Proverbs 22:29 says that, it says, observe those who are good in their work. It says, skilled workers are admired and are demanded, and they never take the backseat to anyone. One time, a young man who has been in a club said he was leaving the club, and the president of the club said, I don't mind resigning so that this guy can stay. Why? His skill, his ability, how he does his own business of football. You said you are a hairdresser. You said you are a seamstress. Or you said that you are a tailor. When you make clothes, does it look like a carpenter made it? You say you run a restaurant. Who eats your food? Do you have skill and ability for the things you are doing? Presentation is a skill. Do you know you can tell someone to go to hell and the person will be looking forward to the trip? It is the way you presented it. So what's number one? Is there need and demand for what you do? Number two, do you have skill and ability for doing it? And then the third one is the degree of difficulty involved in replacing you. If you are easily replaceable, your value in the marketplace is very low. If people can find an alternative to your product, you are not in control of the market. So these three things are important if you want your income level to grow. Now, there are 5 questions you need to ask yourself if you want to dominate your field, irrespective of the time. The first one is that, how good am I at what I am presently doing? How good are you in what you are presently doing? Why will someone leave the next person to buy from you? How good are you in what you are presently doing? Number 2, do I know all there is to know about my work? Do I know all I need to know about my work? Number 3, would I call myself a first-class professional at my business? Will you say that you're a first-class professional? These guys, they saw a man, you watched the video. This guy is selling chin-chin, but he's wearing suit. Will I call myself a first-class professional at my business? The 4th question is, how would my work and business stand up against the work of others in my line? If you put your business side by side, other people doing the same business with you, they ask him, who are your competitors? I don't think he actually mentioned any name. He just dodged it. Mini. Then he began to tell them why they should buy from him, why they shouldn't buy from Mini. That is conquering objection. Why should I come and buy from you? Why should I come and cut my hair in your salon? He began to tell them why. And then finally, the last question, how would my business or my job be performed in the next 1 to 5 years, in the next 6 to 10 years, in the next 15 to 20 years from now? They said now that every 30 minutes, there is a change in how you do things. 30 minutes. It used to be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, but now, every 30 minutes, you just check something, the thing has changed. Before now, it takes 7 minutes for someone to decide to come back to your church. When teaching us master class in church growth and the rest of them, that in 7 minutes, somebody has decided, I will come back to this church, or I will not come back to the church. But now it takes 3 minutes, and pastor has not preached. So, why will somebody leave other churches to come to Gateway? It's because every day we are involving. But check it. People choose church now the way they choose restaurant. Oh, are you okay? They choose church as they choose restaurant. So let's look at how can you now build your business to dominate over the principles that you need to apply as a businessman, no matter the times and the seasons we find ourselves, that these principles will stand. Principles are laws. So irrespective of the season, they will stand. Am I communicating? So let's look at those kingdom principles. What did Joseph say to Pharaoh? We are going to save 20%. Right? So everything I've been talking about is saving this, saving this. So the first principle, if your business must dominate changing seasons, is number 1, build capacity. It's a principle of the kingdom. If you build capacity, no matter what happens, you go stand gidiba. Do you know before Joseph interpreted the dream of the king, he first of all started by interpreting the dream of prisoners. Hey. So you say you want to be a world-class evangelist, whereas in your street you have not even started. You said you want to make your tiger nut, let it be a world-class product, whereas you are not in any supermarket, but thank God your own is in several supermarkets now. Have you ever tested this guy's tiger nut? You pay for this advert too. So the first thing you need to do what? Build capacity. Someone say build capacity. Now what capacity do you need to build? Don't rush it, just put it. The first capacity is to build financial capacity. What Robert Kiyosaki called financial intelligence. Some of us make money, but we don't know how to manage money. Managing money is more important than making the money. Because if you cannot prove that you can manage what you have, there is no need. The universe will give you another one. So build capacity, financial capacity. Then build capacity in systems. What is system? They said if you are not making money while you are asleep, you cannot have financial freedom. So a system is simply, this business is running with or without me. If you have not built that system, okay, lead pastor traveled to UK. Did the church close down? Was there church on Sunday? Was there any preaching? Why? There is a system. If you don't go to work for one day, if your business will be affected, then you have not built capacity in systems. We're talking about principles. In fact, the definition of system, like if you use system as an acronym, saves you stress, time, energy, and money. That's what system is. Whatever saves you, S, save, Y, U, S, stress, T, time, E, energy, M, money. Somebody came to this church and walked up to lead pastor and said, I want to be a pastor in a satellite church. And my pastor said, the last time that he checked, he's not the director for church planting. So if I am the one doing all this thing, then I will die before my time. He said, just go behind it. You see the office written church planting. In other words, he has said there is a system for recruitment. Even when you bring the person in, someone else will come and do the onboarding process. Why? It's called system. Somebody say system. So ask your neighbor, have you built any system around your business? That's an area you must build capacity in. Then you must also build capacity in spirituality. Spirituality. It's not everything that happens. A man in Kenneth E. Hagin's church, they interviewed him. He said he has been investing in that church for the past 25 years, even after Kenneth Hagin died. And they asked him, why will you be doing that? He said it was Kenneth E. Hagin that taught him how to pray in the Holy Ghost. And since then, he has never invested in a wrong business. He built capacity in spirituality. He knows when God is speaking to him. He knows when God is saying, this business, even though it looks juicy, don't invest. Build capacity in what? Spirituality. And then build capacity in management. So the first thing that will make you to stabilize, the first principle that will make you to stabilize irrespective of the season is what? Building capacity. Someone say, build capacity. Someone say, build capacity. The second thing, cultivate quality relationships. Cultivate quality relationships. It was Tempest Tondros that said, you will remain the person you are in the next 5 years or 10, except for two things: the books you read and the people you meet. Cultivate quality relationship. In fact, Les Brown said, ensure that you relate only with quality people. OQP. Only with quality people. So, when you are building this quality relation, what are you building? You are building emotional intelligence. You are building social intelligence. You are building tolerance. You are building forgiveness. You are building genuine love. If Joseph had no relationship with the chief butler and the chief baker, Joseph would have remained in prison. Hey, are we still here? These two guys had their dreams, and Joseph was looking at their faces as if he was one that brought them there. Joseph also was a prisoner, but he started cultivating relationship with them. Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? Stop copying. Now you're not a charter secretary. Between the dream of Pharaoh and the dream of Joseph, which one is more important? Let me see your hand if you want to answer. Let me see. Yes? The dream of Pharaoh. Who else? Yes? Yes, ma'am. I said between the dream of the chief butler and the dream of Pharaoh, which one is more important? He said it's the dream of Pharaoh, right? The dream of the chief butler. Who else? Any? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What are you agreeing with? The dream of the chief butler. Why? Why are you giving chorus answer? You are intelligent. Clap for him. Clap for him. Without the chief butler, there is no how Joseph would have gone to the palace. So there are people you are treating as if they don't matter now. Don't block your road tomorrow. Cultivate quality relationships. Proverbs 13 verse 20 says, he that walketh with the wise shall be wise, but the companion of fools shall be destroyed. I don't have all the time. I would have shown you something in Genesis chapter 12. In Genesis chapter 12 verse 4, who did God call? Maybe just put it, let's see a few things. I have like 10 minutes to stop. In Genesis chapter 12 verse 4, who did God call? God called Abraham, right? Hello? Genesis 12 verse 4. God called Abraham. The Bible said, and Lot went with him. Did God call Lot? But watch this. Thank you. So Abraham left just as God had said. And Lot left with him. And Abraham was 75 years old. Now go to chapter 13. Go to chapter 13 of Genesis. Now look at this. No, put verse 4. Verse 4. And built his first altar. Abraham prayed there to God. Verse 5. Lot, who was traveling with Abraham, was also what? Rich in what? And what? And what? Did God call Lot? But Lot traveled with a man that was called. He had a relationship with a man, a quality relationship with a man that was called. But look at where Lot missed it. Do you know there are people, there are so many things you are enjoying, not because you pray, but because you're a member of Gateway International Church. The blessing in the house automatically rests on you. If you are in a house and you are tithing, you are doing the kingdom, the blessing in the house will rest upon you. Look at again, verse 6. This is where Lot got it wrong. But the land could not support both of them. They had too many possessions. They couldn't both live there. Verse 7. Quarrels broke out between Abraham's shepherds and Lot's shepherds. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living on there. But what I'm simply saying is that even though Lot had a good relationship with Abraham, he forgot that he was not in covenant. It was Abraham that was a covenant. Now, there are people you started a good relationship with. As soon as that business started yielding profit, you started becoming funny. You became funny. That also happened to... When Abraham called Lot and said, Papa said, you know, Lot had a lot of problem. When Abraham called Lot and said, look, let there be no strife between your headsman and my headsman. Choose any side. What should have Lot said? No, sir. No, uncle. I didn't go anywhere. I want to walk with you, but I will talk to my headsman. But he thought that now that he had possession, he didn't know he didn't have the source of that possession. Those who look for things will get some things. But those who look for God will become something. Lift up your hand. I pray for you as you cultivate first relationship with God and with great men. May your destiny never go down. Amen. Take me back to the slide. Number 3. I'm running faster now. The third thing you need to do if your business must stand the test of time. The third principle is what? Selflessly build and invest in other lives. Selflessly build and invest in other lives. You see, the young man that this guy they call, what's this name? This guy that was part of the vocalist when Frank Edward did one song. This Under the Canopy. There's this guy, Ike. That Ike, they said Frank Edward, he was squatting Frank Edward. That Ike. Are we still together? He was squatting Frank Edward. Now, Frank Edward has made it. You know what he did? He called him and asked his voice to be heard in his song. Now, when Frank Edward allowed that guy to feature in one of his albums, guess what? That was endorsement. Now, that guy, when he sings now, people will buy. They say, don't you know this guy featured in Frank Edward's song? Why? Because so many years ago, this Ike invested in Frank Edward. Now Frank Edwards is returning it. Who are you investing in? Who? Who are you investing service in? Who are you sowing seed into their lives? Who are you imparting their lives? Robin Sharma wrote a book, and that book, each time I read the book, I want to read it over and over. The title of the book is Who Will Cry When You Die? It's talking about legacy. He said, Robin, when you were born, the world rejoiced while you cry. He said, live your life in such a way that when you die, the world will cry while you rejoice. When you die, who will cry? You know, people can cry for different reasons. Maybe you are owing them. We are talking about all those Bible passages, you can read them, but I'm talking about the third principle is what? Selflessly invest in the life of others. It's a principle that can never fail. Jonathan invested in the life of David, and his son Mephibosheth came to reap from that relationship. Is there any left in the house of Saul that I might show him kindness for Jonathan's sake, not for Saul's sake, for Jonathan's sake? And they said there's one Mephibosheth, he stays in Lodebar. David said, go and fetch him. Why? A man relinquished his position for him. Jonathan was the heir apparent to the throne. He knew so long as David was alive, there is not going to be. But he said, no, I know you are going to be the king. Investing selflessly in other lives. Investing in their business. Investing in their ideas. One of us talking yesterday said, the business development unit invested in me. They made me understand so many things. Some of you come up now, you're talking about pitching. Where did it start from? Watching Lions Den and what? The other was that one, Shark Tank. Number 4, what's the next principle? Study the lives of those who have maintained relevance through seasons. Study like the business you're doing. Your tomorrow is somebody's yesterday. Your annual income is somebody's weekly allowance. So study the lives of those who have maintained relevance through seasons in businesses. There are people who have stayed through in businesses and they are still staying. They said so many years ago, a young man, Donald Trump said he didn't want to see anybody. And then a young man was waiting at the reception and said, I have to see him. They said no. He said nobody should see him. And then he sent a note inside and said, I have $10 million, $1 million. Can I just speak with Donald Trump for 10 minutes? And Donald Trump said they should send him in. And do you know what he came to do? He just came to ask Donald Trump questions. He was not asking for money. Some of us, when we meet greatness, we are asking them for money instead of selling ideas to them. Study the lives of those who have maintained relevance. Those of us doing ministry, what we keep doing is to maintain. One time, Papa said, what I want to do all through this year is just to meet some of these great men and sit down and ask them questions. It's not a conference, but a sit down. Because the fastest way to get to where you want to is to find out who has gone there already and sit down and ask the person questions. Jim Rohn said that the poor ought to take the rich for lunch and pay for the lunch and ask the rich questions. He said, but do you know what? When the poor takes the rich for lunch, the rich will end up paying for the lunch. Because the poor man will keep saying that I don't have. And that's why they will never have. Right? Not take the man to lunch. He said, spend 2 hours asking questions and writing that. There is something he knows you don't know. That's why he is where he is. I remember something funny that happened when Richard Branson, Virgin Atlantic, was giving a lecture in a postgraduate school. He was giving a lecture. So one young man said, excuse me, sir, that's not what my professor said. Richard Branson could be arrogant. He said, does your professor run $1 billion business? He said, no. He said, throw away what the professor said and take what I run $1 billion business. There's difference between theory and practical. I thought he would clap small. So, when you see results, there is a law behind that result. Number 5. Now, part of the principle is that principle number 5, raise covenant altars. Raise covenant altars and stay under spiritual covering. Covenant altars like first fruit. Covenant altars like tithing. Covenant altars like kingdom service. And covenant altars like financial obligations. I showed you the story of Jekoki. I showed you the story of Sam Walton. And I shared the story of Ajiboye. They were all serving in the kingdom. And their money was working for the kingdom, impacting the kingdom, impacting lives. And they were serving. And they saw. So raise covenant altars. These covenant altars are the things that will speak for you. Because every altar has a voice. Raise covenant altars. On Sunday I told the story of John D. Rockefeller. And the rest of them, Quaker Oats and the rest of them. It is the altar that they raised that was speaking for them when the seasons were very bad. Isaac sowed in that land, and in the same year he reaped 100-fold because there was a covenant altar speaking for him. His father raised an altar, he came, maintained the altar. His son came and continued the altar. And Levi launched into the altar. Raise covenant altars. It can be your altar, that this altar of mercy that we do on radio. Can I pay for the radio slot? That's an altar. Oh, Vigils of Destiny will be coming up in July. Can I at least take care of the publicity? That's an altar you have raised. In January, Papa told us of a young man who, that pastor couldn't eat 2 years ago. But in January, he was one that sponsored the Impact Retreat. That was 7-point-something million. Now, it's the same pastor now that want to sponsor the Impact June conference. That is 12 million. That's altar speaking for him. And then you come to the altar and say, Lord, you know I don't have. And God say, I can't break my principle because of you. Number 6. The 6th principle. Serve and activate the provisions of mentorship. It's a principle. Serve and do what? No. Activate what? The provisions of mentorship. Mentorship will give you 7 things. When I say mentor, I don't mean pastor. There is mentorship in business. There's mentorship in ministry. There is mentorship anywhere. Are we say together? Now, if I ask you now, who is your mentor in the business you are doing? Because if you don't have a mentor, you fall into the hands of tormentors. Who will sit you down and say to you, don't do it this way? So many years ago, when Kenny E. Higgins was alive, a young man came to him and Kenny Higgins asked him to bring his vision and all the things he wanted to achieve in life. So he brought them and said, look at them. Kenny E. Higgins sat down, wrote the first one, 10 years time. Wrote the other one, 20 years. Wrote the other one, 5. Wrote the other one, 7. And gave it back to the young man. The young man was angry. How can you say this thing will be? No, I have faith. This thing will happen all through this year. And he left. When the first one happened in 7 years' time, the second one happened after 20 years. He came back to Kenny Higgins and said, sir, I am sorry. Kenny Higgins said, why are you sorry? He said, that day you wrote that and I was very angry with you. I said, you don't have faith. A mentor, what he is seeing, you are not seeing it too. Who is your mentor? Let me tell you what happens to mentorship. You serve the person by sowing seed, and then the person brings 1, impartation, 2, guidance, 3, access, 4, endorsement, 5, promotion, 6, wisdom, and 7, speed. We were in South Africa in October last year, and then Papa was preaching for his friends, Chooks. And when he was done, he said, my director for church planting is here. We gave him a target of 50 churches. He has planted 46. Do you know, as that program ended, all the South Africans rushed to me and said, can you teach us how to plant a church? That was an endorsement from a mentor. That was an endorsement. Do you know one of the reasons Peter, apart from all the other God factor, why he's still making noise? Because a man like Uncle Shage said, this is the man. Are we still here? And then you are there busy getting angry. This man has started meeting some persons that they posted the picture where he went to meet Tony Lume. People were abusing Tony Lume. Wait till consign him. The next one, he had a meeting with Otedola. What's he doing? There is something to learn from mentorship. These guys have been doing business. Let me talk with them and see whether I can get something. Who is your mentor? Papa was submitted to somebody. After he changed his mentor ministry, boom! It's a principle. The last one, number 7. The last principle because of time. Break satanic siege. Break what? Satanic siege. If you finish preaching in Gateway, you didn't talk about something dying, you never finish. So you must do what? Warfare. In as much as you obey the other principles, do what? Warfare. Without a fight, there can be no flight. So after you have done the other 6, do warfare. Someone say warfare. Because life is not funfair. For you to enjoy the welfare, you must do warfare first. So if you are the type that believe that they shouldn't pray, some serious prayer, you can even hire people to pray for you. John Maxwell has 100 persons that pray for him. John Maxwell. So do what? Pray. These other ones are not principles. How do you inculcate your kingdom agenda into your business? Number 1, your business policy should be scripturally based. That's how to inculcate kingdom agenda into your business. 1, when you are drawing up your company policy, they should have scriptural backing. Number 2, I'm done. I'm just how you can. Number 2, build system to give back to humanity and church. Have a system. Say this percentage of our company income goes to this, goes for this, goes for this. So build system. Number 3, raise other kingdom businessmen. Raise other people. Number 4, use your business to propagate the gospel. Don't use it to fight the gospel. In 1983, a man called M.K. Abiola imported a 1 container load of Bible and sank it into the ocean, right? And then 10 years later, he won the freest and fairest election. And God said, you can't sit there. He used his money to fight the gospel. And his destiny sank. So use your business to propagate the gospel. And the last one. 3 things will happen when you connect to this principle. Number 1, you have the Esther's anointing. The Esther's anointing is that anybody who sees you favors you. Esther chapter 2 verse 15. When the turn of Esther was come, he said he found favor before King Ahasuerus. The second thing that happens when you observe this principle, you have what they call the Elijah's anointing. That's talking about speed. Some others may have started before you, but when this oil rests on you, there is speed. And the last one is called the destiny helpers anointing. Nobody goes far without destiny helpers. And there are 4 seasons of destiny helpers as I close. The first is divine connectors. These guys might not give you money, but they have information that can change your story. It was a divine connector called the chief butler that connected Joseph to the palace. So you need people like that. The second level of destiny helpers, they are called men of skill. They don't have the money, they don't have the connection, but they have what? Skill. That's what we call the Bezalel. In Exodus chapter 36, the Bible said, God said to Moses, build the tabernacle. But Moses is not a carpenter. He said, there is a man in your church. His name is called Bezalel. So they are called men of skill. The third level of destiny helpers is called men of influence. That's the one all of you know. This is where a man or a woman is ready to put in his resources to ensure your dream comes to pass. That's what we call Joseph of Arimathea. When Jesus died, no prayer warrior could bring him down. It took a man of influence. He walked into the palace and told Pilate, I need the body of Joseph, because Pilate knows where they meet in the city. Hey. And the Bible said Joseph of Arimathea was the disciple of Jesus. So not every disciple they come all the meetings like vigils and the rest of it. There are people where they are now their money they come to vigil. Finally, the last the last season of destiny helpers, they are called burden bearers. These are people that said, I don't care what you are passing through. I will stand with you through the thicks and thorns until the glory is revealed. They are called burden bearers. So 4 seasons. Number 1, divine connectors. Number 2, men of skill. Number 3, and number 4. Finally, will have what we call the prophet that speaks over you. That's your spiritual covering. Hosea chapter 12 verse 13. Through a prophet the Lord delivered Israel, and by a prophet he shall be preserved. If you have no prophet, you will not profit. If you have no prophet around you, you will have no profit in your life. With these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you. So whatever it is, don't forget the 7 principles. And then, my chairman won't keep me here.
I hope people who don't have questions, he has to run. So instead of us to ask questions, we'll use the question time to analyze the videos. Agreed? Please, so that he can run. He has to be in another location. Please put your hands together for Pastor Mecca again. I hope you learned something. Thank you, sir. I'll call you, sir. Thank you. I hope you learned something. Was it too spiritual? You know, kingdom principles, like I always say when I stand here most times, are usually even the little things you do in your business. You know, last year we had the same thought, and it's something we want to keep doing whenever we have these trainings, to always remind you of the right way to actually run business. And the major reason why God even blesses your business. It is very important. If you see all the big men you know today, the likes of Bill Gates and the wife and all of them, they run the greatest charity. How many of you know that? There's always something they're giving back to the humanity. So, I remember when I was having a chat with the lead pastor, and he gave me an example. There's an eatery abroad called Chick-fil-A. And he told me that they don't open on Sundays. And you know, whenever I go to America now, I look out to see if they open on Sundays. True. They don't open on Sundays. Because the man is a kingdom person, the owner. And he says, Sundays for me is for God. I won't open my business on Sundays. People criticize them because, you know, Sundays in most families, people really don't cook sometimes. From church, you go to those places for the children and just have fun. And they were like, this is the time you make the greatest sales sometimes. They said, no way. Till tomorrow, they don't open on Sundays. And they're one of the most successful eateries in America till tomorrow. It could also be the way you treat your staff. Some of you have money, you don't pay salaries on time. Is that kingdom principle? No. A friend of mine we were together somewhere yesterday. And somebody called him and the person was thanking and thanking and thanking. He was saying, it's okay, it's okay. I said, what's happened? He said, I have one very good manager. Because of this person, I can travel for months and my business is okay. So I just went and bought them a land for 30 million and gave to them. I bought a car last year. This year I said I'll buy a car. So the wife was calling to say thank you. Isn't that kingdom principle? Because you can learn everything you want to learn in business school, but there are certain things that just attract favor. I was telling Nkechi and Co the other day, a friend of mine, his cousin, who is also a friend, just called him one day and gave him an entirely line of his business, worth over $10 million. I don't want to do this business again. Take it, grow it. I'm telling you, people do great things. I remember during COVID, I just told myself, people were cutting salaries and staff. And I was like, how much is this salary self that we pay that we want to cut? And I checked it and we could afford it. And I said, let's use this as a seed to God to take away this madness going on called COVID. Don't cut anybody's salary. Don't sack anybody. Let's just carry on. And we were able to do it and we're still succeeding till tomorrow. Those are actions you take in your business because it's a place you're coming from that has taught you that there are certain things greater than some other things. It's not to always hold on to the money and you hold it as if... You know, there's a story I never forget that made me cry almost. I was in the bank one day with my account officer. And a lady came with a young boy. And he excused me. Went out with them, spent some time and came back. And then he said, I will tell you a story. That when he took over the branch, he noticed that there was an account that had about 30 million. This was almost 15 years ago. And he noticed that the last time that account was operated was over a year ago. So he said, no, let me look for the owner of this account. Only to get to the house and met the wife. And the man died at about that time. So he told the woman, see how much in your husband's account. And there's a process to get it. Come with the next of kin, and then I'll take you to the legal department and we'll look for a way for you to access the money. So he said the next of kin will be the son and he's in school. It's okay, whenever he comes from school, bring him. So that's what she came to do that day. So while he was giving me the gist, the woman came back to thank him that he had seen the legal person and all that, and then she started crying. You know what she said? So my husband get this kind of money, sickness killer. He get this kind of money and we were suffering. Now what did he do with the money? Do you understand? I'm just sharing these stories because sometimes all we think about is just how to accumulate this money, how to get this money, and then the day you pack the money finish, one day you stretch and it's all over. How the money was spent, safe, you won't know. So as you run your businesses, have a humane heart. Don't do this business as if it's a do or die. Some people say, I'm a shrewd businessman. Person know they chop my money, oh, I beg, excuse me. If they chop the money, say, what would you do, really? Sometimes we take this business thing as if it's the end of the world. So that's why we're bringing this particular part of the teaching to you. So that as you're running your business, think about the kingdom principles you hear. Think about the things that you think will please the heart of God. That's what we mean by kingdom principles to a large extent. Because whenever you hear these kind of things in church, the first thing you think about is, hey, church people want to talk of how to sow seed now, how to give money. Abi? You can't take away the power of giving. That's the truth. You can't. But that's not all we're talking about. That's inclusive. But we're also talking about running your business in such a way that when you even attend to people, they know that there's something special about this person. How many of you have entered somewhere and you say, my spirit doesn't agree with this place? Has it happened to you before? Mm-hmm. There's some businesses you just walk into and you don't know why you just like going there. Right? So when people say, you know, there was a time a friend of mine told me that he made money, went to the village. And somebody came and met him one day and said, oh boy, tell me what you did do for town. He said, nothing. I just do my normal business and hold on to God. He said, I beg, get out, don't be telling me this nonsense. That place you went to, take me there. Sometimes nobody goes to anywhere. Trust me. It's actually God's favor. And you will only attract that favor if you do things concerned using certain principles. So how many of you have learned things from what you heard today? And you remember the one for yesterday. And of course, the one Papa has been teaching all Sundays. And like I said yesterday, making money is a spiritual activity. True. I'm telling you the truth. I was making a joke the other day that those days, after youth service, we eat Jevnik food and eat extra. How many of you have eaten in Jevnik? You know it's usually very plenty. That time we eat and eat extra. Now we can't even finish one. You know why? Then we didn't know where the next meal will come from. So eat belefu. But now when you can afford everything, there's a sense of ego that comes with it. That you need the grace of God to suppress. People only talk about the inferiority complex. You don't have money, you behave one kind. What about the superiority one? Have you met people who, if you see them, because they have money and they enter somewhere, nobody matters? Have you met those kind of people before? You need a special grace to even be able to control this money even when you have it. If not, if you're not that kind of person, you will slap people off. You will use hammer to kill ants. I'm telling you the truth. Because money has its own influence. I'm sure you've had friends who made money, and all of a sudden you really couldn't talk to them anymore. The more money you make, the lower your tolerance level. If it's a lie, call any big man now and greet him for 30 seconds. How are you, sir? How is madam? How is the next thing he says, my friend, can you tell me why you're calling me? True or false? The moment you make money, your tolerance level reduces. There's so many things you can't tolerate. You go somewhere, there's a queue. I can't stand here. And the next thing you're asking for the manager because you don't think you should be on the queue because you have money. As if your account number is written on your forehead. That's what we're talking about when we say kingdom principles. Is being able to command that influence and that wealth. And when you still appear, you're so simple and even approachable. Abi? Mm-hmm. There's some of you here, your staff will buy a car and they will park it at the road and walk. Because if you see them with a car, the next day they will get a query. True or false? There's some of you, where you walk now, you can't change clothes. So they don't suspect you that things are missing. Toxic environment. So that's all we mean when we say kingdom principle. That is more of what we mean. So you make the money through kingdom principles for the kingdom. Now you've made all the money. What else? How much money do you really need to live? One professor said, even if you build 200 rooms of house, you sleep in one room at a time. There's no way you sleep this side and sleep this side. It's one room at a time. So when you make the money, you know, when I hear some things, I just marvel. When they say politician kept 22 billion in the house, why? 22 billion. I'd rather come here and dash everybody. It's the truth. Because you will die one day. It's normal. Okay? Anyway, let me not bore you again. So, before I forget, I saw a lot of you taking pictures of the slides. So there's something we've decided to do. We didn't intend to sell any slides. We don't intend to sell them. But you know what? Sister Nkechi has spoken to the IT person to find out how much it will take to make a CD of all the trainings. So if you want to buy, he says it will cost 1,500 naira to make one. So all the teachings we've had all through the period will be in one CD. We won't make them and keep. If you know you want, leave your name with Brother Chisom. If we collect the whole names, we'll give him. He will make exactly that number and you come and pay and collect. Or maybe you even pay before he makes. So that I won't have bese. Is that okay? So what you're paying for is just the production of it. Maybe you need to scrutinize more. Let's be sure that it's just for the production. It's not. We don't want it to be a profit-making venture, so that's what you take back, and then that's part of our own kingdom principles. Abi? All right. So how many of you saw the video when we came in? So the number has doubled. Okay. So let's play. How many of you watched the video last week? The Lion's Den. Can somebody tell me what the video was about? How many of you watched the video last week? Why all your faces are one kind? I want to point somebody to tell me what happened. Okay, tell me what happened, the video. Take the mic, please.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
The video was about a lady who was seeking for 500,000 naira.
What was her product?
Honey.
Honey.
She packages honey she gets from her uncle in the village.
Which state?
Taraba.
Aha,
Taraba,
that's
yeah.
all. Okay, so so I now know most of you watched
Yes,
it.
from
So
Taraba.
if you remember, we punched some holes in that pitching. Sit down, please. Thank you. We punched some holes, and a lot of you agreed that day that she didn't do a good job, right? We also agreed that what she was asking for was actually too small for the kind of thing, because we're talking about scaling up then. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how to grow your business. The things you have to do to anticipate growth, to plan for growth in your business. We've been, at least 2 days now, we've done kingdom principles. I think it's enough, right? Or we should do it again tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll deal about few things you just have to do to grow your business. They're not big grammar things. There's things you do already, but maybe you've not thought about it in that line. Okay? So if you remember, she eventually got her money, right? But it was like a charity thing, more or less. Not to discourage her, so that she can actually grow the business, right? So today we're doing another video, which is a contrast from that other one. So I'd like you all to watch the video, then we discuss the video after now, okay? ICT, please.
My name is Ayodeji, and I'm the founder and CEO of 501 Confectionery.
Right? So let me do a few things I observed and then link it to what we've been teaching. Then we can just take a few observations and then questions, and then we'll call it a night, okay? Now for the business. What does the man say? Aha, I see some of you call it chin-chin, some say chicken flakes. You know, I'll tell you a joke. We were traveling to Enugu a long time ago with Brother Okay, if he remembers. So we stopped at Mr. Biggs to buy snacks, and we asked a friend of ours, which one do you want? And he spoke in Igbo. Flour. For those of you who don't understand Igbo, he said, anyone you like, buy. Anyhow you eat it, it is flour. Whether it's meat pie you ate, or it is donut you ate. It's still the same thing, but it's just that he came up with an idea to make his own chin-chin different. Right? Now, was it tasty or not? It was tasty, right? Did he understand his numbers or not? He did, right? He gave how much he sells in a month. And then they asked him by next year, because they called it next year, by 2021, I'll be 2022. And he was able to give you a projection of what he intends to sell within then. And then he knew what he was asking for. And they say, if we give you 20 million, what do you need it for? What did he say? Automation. Process. Remember Sister Nkechi talked about process. Now he knows they employ a lot of labor. And you know what machine can do? It's not the same thing human beings will do. They'll be able to produce more, save more time, hygiene, everything. So he needs that money to employ more technology and automate the process so that they can make more. And possibly even reduce manpower. Right? I was on a cruise ship and the barman, everybody was robots. So you go and you punch what you want. The thing does, pick your thing and give you. So there was no human being. So even if anytime you come, you can buy something. Because the robot doesn't sleep. Abi? So he wanted that money for automation. Right? So what was wrong with the business? Packaging. Don't forget the one who backed out said, it's not healthy, hygiene, blah, anybody can adulterate it. And then, of course, all of them agreed with that because you noticed they started suggesting name, they started suggesting how to package it better and all that. Right? Now, but one thing we can establish is that the man has done his market research because he was asked, who are your competitors? He called the people leading in the market. He called me, the market leaders. But guess what? We tried to make our own different. Instantly, he started trying to tell you why you need to buy his own and not me. So he has accepted the fact that there's a competition. And he knows the competition. How many of you know your market competition here? That doesn't mean he's quarreling with me. I'm sure if you go to his shop, he might have me. It's possible. For those of you who go to buy something and then the boy say, hold on, it's in another shop. It's in our warehouse. How many of you have witnessed that before? He's gone to his competition who still has the thing you're looking for, but he doesn't have. So that he can retain you as a customer and maybe even possibly make money from it. So that they call it competition doesn't mean that there's a quarrel. You go to my 1, my 3 market and they tell you all here is Gary line. It means everybody there sells Gary and they all dance and happy and go home every day. Because the whole idea is collaboration, not quarrel. If you go to any line and there's a person who quarrels with everybody, go and check, her sales will be lower than everybody's own. Do you understand? So, he understands the business, knows his numbers, everything about the church. In fact, he has thought it through. Right? Compared to the other girl. All she knows is that her uncle gives her honey from Taraba. So you can see the difference. So those of you who were like the girl before, I'm sure this will change your thinking, right? And you want to do better to understand your business more. Now, let's go to the lions. You know why they're called lions? So that if you throw meat, they will drag it. Her own. Everybody backed out. Only Dan and Gareb took some pity and the other man to offer training and then to give her the money through his foundation. But here, see the way the four of them. They were dragging it because it was good business. Out of 5, 1 dropped. 4. What was he asking for? The business proposition. Give me 20 million. I give you 20% of my business. That's what he was asking for, right? So they will buy 20% of the business at 20 million. Now what that means is, if I invest 20 million for 20% of the business, it doesn't mean that's where it ends. So at the end of the year, if we declare profits, 20% of what we get belongs to me that brought the 20 million. You understand? So that's what they were asking for. But guess what? The lions offered how much? 20 million, but for 40%. Now we come to the man. He sells chin-chin, but his appearance was very, very corporate. A serious businessman. Compared to the girl who came to sell honey. She's a chef. At least she could have dressed like a chef or something, you know. That's why one of the lions said, I'd like to see a guy who sells chin-chin wearing suit. Did you hear him say that? So he was presentable. Apart from knowing his onions, he was presentable. And he could negotiate. Because he had gotten the money. But his concern now was, a whole 40% of my business. And look at something. The lions brought 20 million, right? 2 people, first of all, agreed to do 10-10 to get 20-20. So he was asking for 20 million for 20%. So one person wants to take 10 million now for 20%. That's 20% for 10 million. Do you understand what they tried to do there? And then some people got interested further. One person said, I will join. So instead of bringing 10-10 now, they will bring 6 million point something. And then another person joined again. It became 5 million for 40%. So one person was willing to bring 5 million to get 10% of his business. Meanwhile, he came there to sell 20% for 20 million. Do you understand what was going on there? And then he says, can I negotiate? For the sake of negotiating. Indirectly saying, I agree with the offer, but let me try. Let's negotiate for just the sake of negotiating. He said, can I have a buyback option? Because I'm sure he's considering the fact that this business is so good. In a couple of years, I will regret that I sold 40% of this business for 20 million. That's what was playing in his head if I am like him. That's what I would be thinking. And it came so easy. So there's something these people are seeing that I'm not seeing. No. So in another few years now, they will have 40% of my business. So he said, what if I return the money in 3 years? Can I buy back? So, but the guy said, no. In 3 years, 5 million won't be 5 billion anymore. But they gave him a way out, right? What was the way out? They said, okay, no problem. In 3 years, we will drop 40 to 20. Do you understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, the man knows that there's also a possibility that in a couple of years, 20% of this business will be far, far worth more than the 20 million we're investing. So why don't we enjoy it for the first 3 years? And they will give him part of his shares. He's not returning any money. We were not putting any more money. I will still have the 20% that he was asking for before. You remember he was asking for 20% for 20 million. Isn't that what he will go back with after 3 years? So you understand the power of negotiation. You know, there's a book I read a long time ago. I still have it in my library. It says you can negotiate anything. And I don't fail to do it. Sometimes the seller says, if they don't negotiate, no problem, we'll sell it. But if they negotiate, I have a leeway to give. So you need to learn how to really negotiate. Okay? So, what are your thoughts? Let me take 3. 1, 2, 3. That's 2, that's 3. This man, the first person, please. After this one, we'll do one short clip and then we'll go. It's already 7:23.
Good evening, all. My name is Ugochukwu Godwin. First of all, I think I have a different perception or view to what happened. I think it was a very bad deal he entered. And the reason for me is this. First, I think he was a bit over-ambitious. It's good to be ambitious, but I think it was just a bit over. In 5 months, he's made a turnover of 5 million. And if he's made over a turnover of 5 million in 5 months, he's making 250, that's 1.250 million in 5 months. 1,250,000. He's going to pay, workers and staff and all that. Now he's entering into a bargain where, from that same interest he's making, of that interest he's making, someone else is going to take 40% of 250,000 in a month, and that comes to 100,000. So that means he's no longer making 250. At least he's going to break even. Yes, the production line is going to give him leverage, to produce more, and with their, connections and leverage and all that, he's going to sell more. The guys are very intelligent. The Lions are very intelligent people. Very, very intelligent. They played a fast one on him, and he took it because at the end of the day, he's basically going to be making, how would I put it? His business is I know he's going to make more, how would I put it? His business is going to expand, but he's going to be making more money.
You've already answered your question. So it's a win-win. So I don't think they played the first one on him, and I'll tell you why. Yeah. He says, I sell 1 million monthly, and I make a profit of 250. So it's out of that 1 million that he makes 250. Okay? And this is on the average. You and I don't know how much is going to make more when the automation comes in. It could triple, it could quadruple. Do you understand? And the referrals, the business. So I don't think it's a fast one. So he can still remain there without his 20 million.
Well,
you understand?
Well, there's a point
but I like your point of view. I like the fact that you're looking at it from the fact that he sold cheap.
Yeah, he sold.
It's also possible that he realized that he sold cheap and he asked for a buyback.
Now, the buyback, sorry, sir. The buyback is going to be in 3 years.
Yes.
In 3 years, he's lost 10%, no, 40% of his income.
I don't think
of
he
his
lost.
Profit, of his,
what about the one he's going to make?
He shared it.
What about
he shared it with them.
And
after 3 years, he pays them the 20 million, which might be his monthly profit probably at that time.
I'll tell you the problem why most businesses don't go too far. Is this mentality of my own, my company. Do you understand?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a matter of my own. No, it's not my own. He went there because he needed some.
No, see why I said my own. You said he would have lost.
No. I started with the point that I think he was more in a hurry. Why didn't he grow that business? Why didn't he grow his business for like a year?
No. He's been at it. He said
5 months.
No. He said they said how much? He said in 5 months I sold this.
He started the business in 2020.
Yes. So he has been at it.
And that business, at the time he did that pitching, I think it was in 2020.
See, I'll tell you something.
No, he was projected for 2021.
Yes. So I'll tell you something, my friend.
So it's basically 6 months.
I'll tell you something. If you go to look for seed funding, you might look for it another 10 years. Nobody will give you 1 million, even the banks. Even the banks. So sometimes when you see an opportunity, it's always good to be a small part of a big thing than a big part of a small thing. MD CEO account is red. It doesn't make sense. So for me, it was an opportunity. See, for me, the money is not the issue. The man with white beard, I played golf with him one day. And in that few hours I spent with him, I didn't know when time ran fast. Such a fantastic gentleman with so much ideas. So imagine hanging out with these people. He will start other businesses. So sometimes, look at the bigger picture. Look at the bigger picture. I understand where you're coming from. From the fact that you think he's so cheap. Let him grind. Why grind when I can get 20 million and blow the business? And make small thing out of it. Let us all enjoy. I need the relationship. Let's all. You can't do it alone. Let's all enjoy this thing. The reason why most of us suffer sometimes in business is because we avoid partnerships. And I don't blame most people because of the way we are, especially down here in Nigeria. But one of the major ways to grow business is partnership. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Second person. But fantastic. I like your point of view. But the thing is, why I say I like it is the critical thinking behind it. But you're seeing it that way now because you're watching someone. So put yourself in his shoes. Would you walk away? Do you understand? Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm not going to walk away. Obviously, he made up his mind to be there. He got what he wanted. But I'm looking at a situation whereby he could have just, watched the business grow for a little while, then probably come there.
You might never get the opportunity again. But guess what? He still found a way out with the buyback in 3 years. Okay? Next person, please.
Okay, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
For me, from the video, what I pitched out there is that his packaging was not so okay.
Yeah,
and
we
because
talked about
the
that.
chin-chin was tasty, okay, they forgot to ask about if it was properly registered with NAFDAC, because I didn't hear them say that. And I know that growing business, production business, one of the issues they have is packaging. Because the process, like he mentioned, had it been he had the machine and equipment, he would have left that container packaging and go into using this sealed nylon part of packaging. And then it will be very easy for him. There won't be much job to do.
It's like I said, it's an evolving business. Yeah. And like you rightly mentioned, I also didn't hear anything about NAFDAC.
NAFDAC, yes.
It is possible that they saw it on the pack and they agreed. No, but it's also possible that they got so interested in the business that they forgot to see that. It is also possible, true or false?
True.
So that's the value of knowing your business and being able to sell your business. Right? That's why they say sometimes an Igbo man can sell you clutches even when your leg is good.
Then again,
You know?
like for me, okay, sir, can I continue?
Go ahead.
Like for me, I produce soya beans and soya milk. Okay, so that's part of the challenge I'm having to the packaging as well. I'm not registered under NAFDAC yet. And then, but still, I still went further to seal it up like this.
Excellent.
So that nobody can
Adulteration
access
will
it.
be difficult. Yes.
So if somebody comes to the supermarket where I supply to buy and see it open, they won't want to buy.
True.
Because some nursing mothers, in fact, it's even for nursing mothers.
True.
And even some adults drink this. So it's well sealed.
It's
so
fantastic you're already doing that, because sometimes you see some products, they say, if the tab is broken, don't buy, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let him, before I say what I want to say.
This NAFDAC process is not a difficult process. I have about 3 of them. It's the federal government has reduced the price to about 20-something thousand for one. within 3 months you can get it. It's something you need to do. People run away from it because you think it's a cumbersome process. It's no more like that. It's easy to get. So I just wanted to say to encourage people to go ahead and do your NAFDAC.
Okay,
it doesn't
sir,
cost
can I
much.
ask
Do you have NAFDAC?
No, I don't.
How are you selling?
I supply to supermarket.
So why are you worried about the guy?
But sir, I can't go deep because recently I got
I understand.
Yes.
I understand that part.
Can't go
I
deep.
understand. But you see, it's fantastic. I mean, if you weren't doing that, watching this would have made you understand that it would be nice to improve your packaging. The thing about sachet is based on the fact that people want everything to go now, and so that everybody can afford it. How many of you remember Elephant washing detergent? How many of you remember Omo? How many of you remember Surf? This is how I know your ages now. Where are they? Sit down, please. Where are they? Why? Exactly. No, I'll tell you what Clean did in the detergent market. When I was in Lagos, if you check those your detergents, when Omo Self was raining, the women in the market used to tie in waterproof, true of us. And everybody was buying. My megad in Lagos then will buy a bucket, a container of Bonvita, and tie it in small bags, small waterproof. So you don't have to be a big man to drink Bonvita. Because most families cannot afford the full tin. But you can go to the aboki and buy 2 or 3. Buy milk, 2 or 3. Put sugar, and you mix and you drink your tea and go. True or false? In fact, I don't know how true the story is, but I heard a lot of people pitch that idea to the detergent people, and they refused. Until So Clean came with detergent, small sachets. So the woman knows I can run down the road. With small money, I can buy detergent and wash my phone. So I'm not tying down money. And the sachet market blew. Now everything is in sachets. True or false? Everything is in sachets. So I am sure he will have such. Even the so-called Mini-Me and Co now, they put about 10 or 5 inside and blow it. And then the thing swells. So you see, there's something about packaging and how to cut cost. I remember one time we did a case study in business school. And they brought in somebody who came from Lever Brothers. How many of you know Lever Brothers? And we were asking a question on how they built the competition of the market. Imperial leather, if you were growing up, you can't hold it. Joy, the same thing. So they know if they reduce the size, you will know immediately. They now started making Joy like women. So you see that thing they did like this, they've cut small here to make another soap. That Joy line became deeper. So you slice inside more. So you pick up your Joy. This soap fine, oh, but it has reduced. So they make more now at the same production cost with packaging. Bonvita was one full comb. Now Bonvita is looking like the content inside has reduced though. Because it's not like this anymore. So small space here, and then you pour the small thing that is inside. That's another class entirely. Sometimes when you sit down in your workshop to break even in cost, you will know that this business is not easy. And sometimes it's kobo you sell out of it. Where one mistake, the whole profit for that carton is gone. For those of you who say, give me 1 bottle of mineral there, look. Profit is going on. Okay? So the last person, they will take one video and they will go home. It's already 7:30. Oh, we don't have any other person? Okay, madam. Very brief.
Okay, sorry.
And then I'll play you
Good
a funny video. So we'll close.
Okay.
Go ahead, madam.
I just want to make, I don't know whether it's an observation.
Go ahead.
I like the fact that the man that came to pitch his business was able to negotiate from the 40% that they asked for, because I actually felt it was a bit high. But in the course of that negotiation, one of the lions said, considering the time value of money, we won't be able to return our share, our equity in the business back to you. And they offered to drop the equity they were asking for to 20%. But then in that negotiation, you also find out that in 3 years' time, they will have collected back the capital, the money they loaned him back. Meaning they actually don't have any cash investment anymore in that business. But yet they were able to retain a part of the equity of the company, which is like 20% of the...
No, you didn't understand the negotiation.
Okay.
I'll tell you what they said. They said 20 million for 40%. Okay? And then he said, let me have a buyback clause where in 3 years I will return the 20 million. Okay? And of course he will take back his equity. You understand? And they were like, no. Because 20 million won't be 20 million in 3 years' time.
Yes.
So you can't be returning exactly what we give you.
Okay.
And take back your equity. But you know what we will do? In 3 years, we will drop the 40% to 20%. You still keep the money. They're not taking back the money. All they just did was drop 40% to 20%.
Okay,
so for 3 years of the business, they have 40% stake. After 3 years of the business, they have 20% stake.
Okay, they are still going to leave him with the 20 million.
Of course. The 20 million is still with him. Okay. That was what the negotiation was. They didn't take back the money.
Okay, they didn't take it back.
No.
Okay.
So they didn't want to leave the business. They didn't want to leave the business. They know it's good business, so we don't want to leave the business. But we understand that you feel that maybe you gave too much for 20 million. Okay, you know what? We'll slash it back to 2020. So that thing you were asking for today, you will get it in 3 years' time. Follow? It's exciting, right? Watch more of these videos and think about them deeply. And then check your businesses too. There's a lot to learn, all right? So let's watch the last video. They just say comment and then we'll leave, okay? ICT, please.
We pray that you abide in the name of Jesus. And we declare that the wisdom will take us to places. In the name of Jesus Christ. Plus everything that we learn, Lord will receive favor, unusual favor, to open doors for us. Have your way, Lord. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Amen. The Lord go with you.